Captain Lane was gone. Everyone believed that. But now his voice echoed through Earth's systems. I'm still here. I see them. They're not what we thought. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. No one moved. No one spoke. Then General Hakim whispered, "Trace that signal. Now." Technicians worked fast. Their screens blinked. "It's real," one said. "The message is coming from the Valkyrie. Not a recording. A live signal." "But we searched that ship," another said. "He wasn't there." Torvallis stood at the back of the room. His face was pale. "That's not Lane," he said. "The Dralith. They copy voices, faces, memories. They become what you want to believe." President Hale shook her head. "But what if it is him? What if one of our people survived?" Tor looked into her eyes. "And what if it's not? What if you answer and invite them inside your mind?" No one spoke after that. But in orbit, the Valkyrie began to change. Lights blinked inside. Not bright, just little pulses, like a heartbeat restarting. Its engines were still off, its weapons offline. But now, it was listening. And it was speaking. More messages came. Whispers, cries, screams. Sometimes it was Lane. Sometimes it was a woman from the crew. Sometimes a child. "Please open the door. It's cold here. They're wearing my face." The council ordered a no-contact rule. No one was allowed to send messages to the ship. But not everyone followed the rule. A young tech, scared and full of guilt, sent a private reply. "Captain Lane, if you're alive, say something only you would know." A minute later, the ship answered. "You gave me coffee the day we left Earth. You cried. You said you felt like something was wrong." The tech froze. It was true. Exactly true. She didn't tell anyone what she'd done. But the ship kept whispering her name for days. Meanwhile, the galaxy reacted. Ships began pulling away from Earth space. Allies stopped replying. The Galactic Union went silent again. Only one message came through. Short. Cold. Earth must deal with what it has awakened. President Hale slammed her hand on the table. "So we are alone now." General Hakim nodded. "Worse than alone. We are surrounded by silence. And lies." They sent deep scanning probes toward the Valkyrie. The scans came back. Wrong. Impossible readings. Moving shadows where no heat existed. Mass shifts with no cause. And something stranger. A low hum, like a voice, buried deep in the ship's metal. Not sound, but something below sound. Something felt, not heard. Torvallis warned them again. "If it escapes that ship, it won't just kill bodies. It will kill truth. It will make your people believe things that aren't real. And once they believe, they'll never come back." President Hale looked tired. "But we can't just let it float there forever." "No," Tor said. "You must decide." "Destroy it," General Hakim said, "before it reaches Earth." "But what if Lane is really alive?" someone asked. What if he was? What if he wasn't? Outside, the Valkyrie began to turn. Not quickly. Just a small shift, its front nose aiming toward Earth. It hadn't moved in weeks. And now it did. Without engines. Without power. Just turning. Like something inside was looking. The Council panicked. Earth's defense grid was activated. Missiles loaded. Lasers charged. A timer began. 6 hours until the Valkyrie entered critical orbit range. If it came too close, the system would destroy it automatically. Unless someone stopped it first. And someone did. An hour before destruction, one of Earth's moon bases went dark. Then a second. Then a third. When a team was sent to investigate, they found the power cores had been shut down. Not broken, not attacked, just turned off. The doors locked from the inside. One message was carved into a metal wall in the third base. Let us finish the story. The president stared at the image. It's inside already, isn't it? She whispered. Torvalis did not answer. Then came the final signal from the Valkyrie. Not a voice, not a scream. Just a picture. It showed Earth, burning. Cities on fire, skies black, faces twisted in pain. And above it, shadows falling like rain. Beneath the image, one line. This is what belief brings. The stars were quiet. For many years, the galaxy stayed peaceful. Old wars were forgotten. New friends were made. The Galactic Union ruled everything. Over 300 alien races living together, trading, talking, and growing stronger. But there was one planet missing. One species the galaxy had watched for a long time. Earth. Humans. Some said humans were too wild, too emotional, too dangerous. Others said humans were ready. The Galactic Union finally sent the invitation. A glowing satellite was placed just outside Earth's moon. It spoke in every human language. It said, "You are invited. Come join the stars." Earth listened. The world stopped. News spread fast. Aliens were real, and they wanted humans to join them. Most people were excited. Some were afraid. Governments talked in secret. Scientists worked day and night. The United Earth Council met, voted, and accepted the invitation. One ship was built. The best humans were chosen. Pilots, scientists, soldiers. The ship was called the Valkyrie. It was strong, fast, ready. People waved goodbye. Families cried. Children pointed at the sky as the Valkyrie flew into space, heading to the edge of the galaxy, to a place called Cora Prime, the home of the Galactic Union. But something went wrong. Months passed. No message. No answer. Silence. The Galactic Union told Earth not to worry. Signals can be lost, they said. Exploration is hard. But Earth was not stupid. Something felt wrong. The mission had clear rules. Send updates every week. They had top communication systems. There should have been something. Then, after 6 months, a signal was found near Pluto. A ship appeared. It was the Valkyrie. But it looked different. Its lights were off. Engines cold. No sign of power. No one answered calls. The ship just floated there dead. Earth's military sent drones to check. The outside was covered in black burns and deep scratches. The metal looked chewed, as if something had tried to rip it open. Inside was worse. Blood everywhere. On the walls. On the floors. Human blood. But no bodies. No signs of struggle. No weapons used. Just blood, cold and dry. The computers were destroyed. Logs erased. Cameras broken. Except for one thing. In the center of the ship's main hall, scratched into the metal wall with something sharp, were 4 words. They feed on lies. The words were deep. Angry. Like someone had written them in a hurry, maybe with their last breath. Earth was shocked. The Galactic Union said nothing. They smiled. They spoke soft words. They said maybe it was an accident, maybe space pirates, or equipment failure. But humans knew better. They saw the fear in the Union's eyes. They saw the way the alien leaders looked at the ship, like it was cursed. The Valkyrie was pulled into Earth's orbit. No one went inside again. No one touched it. It was left floating, watched day and night by drones. The world went quiet again. But this time, it wasn't peaceful. People asked questions. Where was the crew? What happened out there? What did the warning mean? The media was blocked. Secrets were kept. But in dark rooms, on quiet nights, Earth's leaders made a choice. They would not trust the Galactic Union. Not yet. They would send another team. A smaller one. Secret. To learn the truth. To find out what really happened to the Valkyrie. And to understand what, or who, fed on lies. The sky above Earth was no longer blue. It was red. Not from the sun, but from the Valkyrie. The ship floated above, silent and broken, yet somehow alive. Its shadow reached across the planet, and every living thing could feel it watching. In cities and towns, people had stopped moving. They stared upward, their eyes wide, their minds full of things they could not explain. Visions, voices, memories that weren't theirs. Some saw dead loved ones, others heard childhood stories. Many saw monsters smiling with human faces. The Draleth had touched them. President Hale stood in the central command bunker, her hands shaking. General Hakim was beside her, holding a weapon, though he knew it wouldn't help. "We've lost half the world," the general said quietly. "Not to war, not to death, but to belief." They were still alive, but their minds were no longer their own. Some wept, some laughed, some just whispered to walls that no one else could see. Tor Vallis stood in the shadows of the room. He looked calm, but his eyes were heavy. "They are inside now," he said. "The Draleth are not like any enemy you've known. They do not kill with fire. They kill with truth, with belief." President Hale turned toward him. "Then why are you still here? Why aren't you under their spell like the others?" Tor looked away. "Because I stopped believing long ago." There was silence. Then a loud beep filled the room. The auto-defense system activated. The timer had reached 0. The Valkyrie had entered Earth's lower orbit. 30 minutes until impact. If they didn't act, the ship, or what lived inside it, would descend, and then there would be no stopping it. General Hakim looked at the screen. "Do we fire now?" he asked. President Hale hesitated. She had one finger on the button. The last missile, the last hope. But deep inside, she didn't know if it would work. Then the voice came again. "Lane." Only now, it was different. It sounded tired, human. "Don't destroy the ship," he said. "There's a way, but someone must choose." President Hale leaned in. "Lane, are you real?" "I don't know anymore," the voice said. "But I remember something. A door. Inside the Valkyrie. One room they can't enter. One room still ours. It's locked. It needs a key." "What kind of key?" she asked. "A mind that refuses to believe," Lane said. "Someone must enter. Someone must carry the truth and not break. If they can do it, the Draleth will lose." General Hakim looked at Tor. You said you stopped believing. Maybe it's you." Tor nodded slowly. "I was afraid you'd say that." "But what if it's a trap?" the president asked. "What if we send him, and the Draleth just use him too?" Tor looked at her. "Then we die. All of us." He stepped forward and placed his hand on the center console. "I will go." A transport was prepared. It flew silently toward the Valkyrie. No defense systems activated. No weapons fired. The ship simply opened. A black door. A hallway filled with whispers. Tor stepped out alone. His eyes steady. His heart still. He walked inside. No one could see what happened after that. But inside Earth's command room, the whispers began to fade. The red sky began to change. The shadows in people's minds grew weaker. And then, after 20 long minutes, the voice returned. Not Lane's. Not the Draleth. It was Tor. "I found the door," he said. "And I found the key. It wasn't me. It was the moment I chose not to listen, not to fear, not to believe." The skies cleared. The voices stopped. People blinked and looked around, confused, frightened, but awake. The Valkyrie began to fall, but not toward Earth. Away from it. Rising. Fading. Gone. President Hale lowered her head and let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. General Hakim wiped sweat from his face. "She did it," he said softly. "No," Hale replied. "He did it." 1 week later, Earth held a quiet memorial. No body, no wreckage, But the stars above looked peaceful once more. People still remembered what they saw. But slowly the whispers faded, the fear dimmed, and Torvalis became a name written in history, not as a warrior, but as the man who made the final choice, the man who refused to believe, and by doing so, saved everyone. The screen glowed bright with Hale's face. He didn't blink. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "We warned you." The words echoed across the council chamber like a funeral bell. The silence afterward was even louder. Councillor Mizon stood frozen. His hand still hovered over the console. His plan, his last gamble, had failed. The energy wave he triggered had done nothing to the humans, but it had burned out half the council's defenses. Zathar stepped forward. "It's over." "No," Mizon whispered, his voice cracking. "They can't end us. We built this galaxy." Velra's voice was calm now. "Yes, we built it, but we also broke it. And now, it's time to answer for that." The chamber lights came back on, but they were dim. Emergency systems only. Outside, the human fleet hadn't moved. It didn't need to. They had shown what they could do without even firing a single weapon. And now, the final message appeared on every screen in the station. Surrender now, or be forgotten. There were no more choices. Mizon looked around the chamber. The other council members were watching him, not with loyalty, but with quiet blame. His pride, his secrets, his arrogance had led them all to this edge. He dropped to his knees. I thought I could control them," he said, barely louder than a whisper. Zathar stood beside him. "You're not the first to make that mistake, but you might be the last." Velra turned to the others. "We need to respond. Now." She stepped to the console, cleared the screen, and opened a live channel. The image of Commander Hale returned. She bowed her head. "This is Councillor Velra of the Galactic High Council. We surrender." Hale studied her for a moment. Then he spoke. "We are not conquerors. We don't want your throne." "Then why did you come?" Velra asked. "To show the truth," Hale said. "You looked at Earth and saw a weak world. You called us wild, broken, dangerous. Maybe we are, but when your galaxy sent its horrors to kill us, we didn't run." He leaned closer to the screen. "We studied them. We fought them. And we learned, while you built rules to keep yourself safe, we bled. And from that blood, we built something stronger than law. We built will." Velra nodded slowly. "And now we want peace," Hale said, "but not the kind you control. A real peace, with justice, with memory." He turned to someone off-screen. Then he looked back. Mizon must answer for his crimes. The camera zoomed slightly, focusing on the man still on his knees. Mizon looked up, broken. "I'll go," he whispered. "Just don't destroy everything." Hale nodded. "Bring him to us. Alone." Zathar helped Mizon stand. As they walked toward the docking bay, Mizon whispered, "Will they kill me?" Zathar didn't answer, because he didn't know. As the door closed behind them, the rest of the council sat in silence. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Velra broke the silence. "Do you think they'll leave us alone now?" Resik, quiet as always, finally spoke. "No." Everyone looked at him. "They didn't come here just to punish one man," Resik said. "They came to wake us up. And I think they did." In the cold, dark bay of the human flagship, Mizon stood alone. Hale entered, eyes locked on him. "You were the one who called us first," Hale said. Mizon nodded. "I thought I could use your war to strengthen my power." "You were wrong," Hale said. Mizon looked tired. "Will you kill me?" "No," Hale said. "But we will erase what you built." Behind Hale, a new screen lit up. One by one, human ships were deploying communication beacons. They were linking to every system across the galaxy. Hale continued, "We're opening every archive. every secret you buried, every crime you hid. The galaxy will know everything. Mizon shook his head slowly. You'll tear the council apart. Hale stepped closer. Good. Then maybe something better will rise. Outside, billions of screens lit up across hundreds of worlds. Files, videos, testimonies, everything. The truth. The council's hidden betrayals. Their deals with slavers. Their silence during genocide. And the record of Earth's suffering. How humanity was abandoned, left alone to face the dead zone. And how they survived. Later, Velra stood at the council balcony, watching the stars. The Judgment Fleet had not fired a single shot, but they had changed everything. Zathar stood beside her. What now? Velra replied, now we rebuild. With fear, with memory, and maybe with respect. As the humans prepared to leave, Rise looked at Hale. Do you think they'll change? She asked. Hale's voice was quiet. They already have. The ships turned away from the council station. Silent, unstoppable, feared, but not forgotten. And far behind them, in the heart of the galaxy, a new story had begun. The day the council learned what it meant, when blood-soaked ships came with a message. Humanity remembers. Years passed, but the memory of that day never faded. The day the humans came to the Galactic Council, and everything changed. No shots were fired, no cities burned, but fear had done more damage than any war. Now, even the stars seemed quieter. In hidden corners of the galaxy, people still whispered about it, about the ships, dark, heavy, dripping with something no one could explain. Some said it was blood. Others said it was something worse, a warning written in the language of fear. The council never recovered fully. The old flags were gone. The symbols of power were taken down. Mizon's name was removed from every wall, every history book. But it didn't matter, because people remembered. Truth was free now, and Earth's name was something you said only with care. At bars, when travelers told stories, no one laughed at humans anymore. No one mocked Earth's old myths or called them weak. Instead, they asked questions in hushed voices. Is it true they built war machines from crashed alien wrecks? Did they really survive a whole war zone without any help? Did they eat their enemies? No one knew the full truth, and that made the legend even more terrifying. Some called them monsters, others called them the future. But everyone agreed on one thing: humans were not like the others. On a quiet planet far from the core, a group of young pilots trained in the shadow of old council ships. The instructor, an older alien with scars on his face, stopped the class suddenly. He pointed at a distant image on the screen. It showed a massive human warship, half in shadow, its hull scratched with strange symbols. Do you know what that is? He asked. The students shook their heads. He nodded slowly. That is why we train harder now. That is why we don't lie to each other. That is why we don't ignore small planets anymore. Because that ship is a message. One brave student raised a hand. What does the message say? The instructor turned off the screen. It says, don't make Earth come back. In the dead zone, the place once left to rot, new stations had appeared. Not human, not alien, joint. Built by many species working together, inspired by fear and hope. At the center of one such station, a statue stood. It was not tall or golden. It was simple. A human figure in armor, helmet under one arm, eyes looking at the stars. The plaque below had only 4 words. We bled. We learned. No more was needed. And Earth had changed too. They didn't build more ships. They didn't send out armies. Instead, they watched, listened, and remembered. The galaxy didn't know what Earth would do next. And that silence, that uncertainty, was more powerful than any threat. On a deep space freighter, a small crew of traders sat around a glowing table. They were sharing rumors, as usual. One of them leaned in. "I heard a story," she said. "A pirate fleet hit a small human colony near the edge of space." Everyone went quiet. "What happened?" someone asked. The woman smiled. "They disappeared. All of them. One day after the attack, their whole fleet vanished." Another trader swallowed hard. "You think the humans did it?" No one answered, but no one doubted it. Across the galaxy, children grew up hearing two kinds of stories. One was about the council, that it used to rule, but forgot what justice meant. The other was about Earth. Not a hero, not a villain, but something else. A shadow that watches, a fire that waits. And in every school, on every world, they now taught a new subject: the human war. No one dared to forget. One day, a young alien boy looked up at the stars and asked his father, "Will the humans ever come back?" His father looked down, eyes dark. "If they do," he said, "let's pray it's his friends." The boy nodded, then whispered, "Or else." And the stars above seemed to listen, as if even the galaxy remembered what happened, when ships soaked in blood arrived without a sound, when humanity knocked, and the galaxy learned how fear truly feels. And so the legend was born. A warning passed from world to world, from generation to generation. Simple words, powerful truth. Never wake Earth's silence. Never test their memory. Never forget. What happens when humans show up? The Valkyrie floated in silence above Earth. A dead ship. It was once Earth's pride. Fast, beautiful, full of brave men and women. Now, it was a ghost. No lights, no power, no crew. Just blood and 4 words scratched in steel. They feed on lies. The people on Earth were scared. Some believed it was all a trick. Others thought something worse had happened. The United Earth Council met again. In a locked room, leaders argued. "We need answers. It's too risky. We must go back." So they did. But this time, it was not a public mission. It was secret. The ship sent was smaller. No name, no flag. Just 5 people on board, all trained in combat, tech, and survival. Earth's best. Their goal was simple: enter the Valkyrie, find out what happened, and get out. They reached the ghost ship in 3 hours. As they got closer, their sensors picked up strange data. Low-level energy, like a weak heartbeat, but the ship was supposed to be dead. The leader of the team, Captain Lane, frowned. "Everyone ready. Helmets on. Stay close. No one splits up." They entered through the main hatch. It opened with a loud hiss. Inside was cold. Too cold. Their suits fogged up. Lights flashed from their helmets, showing dark red stains on the walls. Blood. Old. Dry. The same blood from before. They walked slowly, weapons ready. Everything was wrong. Chairs were torn from the floor. Tables were upside down. Tools scattered. Walls scratched, like something with claws had tried to escape. The team reached the command bridge. The captain's chair was empty. But behind it, more words were scratched into the glass. "Do not speak." "What the hell happened here?" whispered one soldier. Just then, their radios crackled. A voice came through. Faint, broken. "Help. They, watching." "Say again," Lane said quickly. "Who is this?" "It's not them anymore. We are not. Alone." Then silence. The team stared at each other. "That wasn't one of us," said one. "That sounded human." Lane gave orders fast. "Trace that signal. Check every deck. We're not leaving until we know what's inside this ship." They moved deeper into the corridors. The lights flickered once, then twice. Then everything went dark. Only the helmet lights worked now. In the med bay, they found signs of struggle. Bloody handprints on the walls, broken glass, empty beds. One of the soldiers, Rivera, opened a locker. Inside was a data tablet. It still worked. He played the last recording. A woman's voice. Tired. Scared. We landed. They welcomed us. Flowers. Music. Smiles. But it was a trick. Not all of them are real. Some of them get inside your head, make you see things, make you believe lies. We thought we were safe. We were wrong. Then screams. Then static. Rivera dropped the tablet. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed down the hallway. Everyone turned. Something moved in the shadows. Fast. Too fast. Lane raised his weapon. Eyes sharp. Stay close. No one talks unless I say so. They followed the sound. It led to the crew's sleeping area. Doors were open, beds empty. Except one. A figure was sitting at the far end. Still. Quiet. A human. The team moved closer. It was a man, wearing a Valkyrie uniform, skin pale, eyes wide open. He didn't blink. He didn't speak. He just stared at the wall. Lane knelt beside him. "Sir, can you hear me?" The man turned slowly. His mouth opened. But the voice that came out was not human. "They know you're here." Suddenly, the lights exploded. A scream. A shot fired. Then, darkness. The team ran back to the main hall. Something was behind them. Claws on metal. Breathing in the dark. But when they reached the airlock, it was sealed. No power. No exit. Then, on the wall behind them, new words appeared. Glowing red this time, as if burned into the ship itself. "We warned you." 1 year had passed. The sky over Earth was blue again. The streets were calm. Children played. Adults laughed. Life had slowly returned, but something deep inside had changed forever. People still remembered the red sky. They remembered the fear. They remembered the voices. But more than that, they remembered the silence that came after. The silence that meant they had survived. And they remembered the man who made it happen. Tor Vallis. No one ever saw him again. His last message was clear. "I found the key." Some believed he died inside the Valkyrie. Others believed he became something else, something beyond human. But all of Earth knew one thing. Tor saved them. Across the galaxy, word spread. Earth was no longer called a young planet. It was no longer seen as weak, or late, or simple. Now it had a new name. The world that faced the Drellith. And that name carried weight. When alien ships visited Earth, they came with respect. When the High Council of Stars spoke, they now paused when Earth's representatives entered the chamber. The galaxy had waited for Earth's arrival. But what they got was a warning. A blood-stained one. And Earth gave them more than just a story. It gave them a truth. Captain Lane was never found. But his last words were recorded in every language on every world. The truth doesn't kill. It reveals. What kills is fear of it. That message spread across systems like a fire in the dark. Some species chose to forget. Others began searching for answers, asking what the Drellith really were and how belief gave them power. No one knew for sure, but they all knew one thing. Earth had stood when others would have fallen. President Hale stood at the United Earth Monument, where Tor Vallis's name was carved into stone. She placed a single white flower on the stone. Children watched nearby, their eyes wide. Not in fear, but in wonder. One of them asked, "Is it true he didn't fight with weapons?" President Hale smiled. "Yes," she said softly. "He fought with choice." The child tilted his head. "What does that mean?" "It means he didn't run," she said. "And he didn't believe the lies. That's the hardest kind of fight." The wind blew gently. Overhead, the stars sparkled. In orbit, the Earth Defense Station had a new name, the Tor Line. A shield of satellites, watchtowers, and signal blockers, built not just for war, but to protect against ideas too dangerous to speak. General Hakim, Now the Supreme Commander stood in the new command deck. He stared out the large glass panel, watching the stars. A junior officer stepped up beside him. "Sir, new signal from the Vega system. They're asking for Earth's guidance." Hakim smiled faintly. Imagine that. Just a few years ago, they ignored us. He paused, then said, "Tell them we'll help. But remind them, Earth doesn't bring weapons anymore. We bring something stronger." "Belief?" the officer asked. Hakim shook his head. The power not to believe. The galaxy had changed, no longer ruled by the loudest voices or the biggest fleets. Now species looked toward Earth, the planet that had touched the edge of something dark, and came back stronger. A new era had begun, not just of peace, but of awareness, of caution, of respect. And Earth's name became more than just a sound. It became a signal, a warning, a legend. When children on far planets heard scary stories about shadows and ancient truths, they asked their parents, who stopped them? And the answer was always the same: the humans did.